Question 7, part A. Fully simplify the square root of 48 plus the square root of 108. Got to be careful with Surds questions that when we simplify them, we have to show how they break down. So if you type this, in fact, if you type this whole sum into your calculator, you'll get the answer. But of course, without you showing all of the steps, you're not going to get any of the marks for this. So the first step that we need to take is showing how each of these surds breaks down. So that's square root of 48. Sure, it is going to simplify. If you type that in your calculator on its own, it's going to give you a 4 times root 3, for example. But how do we get from root 48 to root 43? Well, there's a big clue in the answer you get in your calculator, because root 3 has to be one of these pieces that this can break down into, otherwise it wouldn't be part of your answer for root 48. So root 3 times the square root of 16 is where we're going to be able to get this from. You can also think of this as, well, that 4 used to be a number in a square root. What is the square root that makes 4 as an answer? Of course, it's 16. And then just to be clear, 16 times 3 is 48. So that's why the square root of 16 times the square root of 3 is the same as the square root of 48. And that's the middle step that we need when it comes to breaking down surds. You going from root 48 to this is perfect workings. As far as the other surd goes, we do exactly the same thing, except we got a square root of 108 this time. You type the square root of 108 into your calculator and you're going to get 6 root 3. Where did that come from? That came from a something times root 3. That something has to be a square root. That square root has to end up giving us 6 as an answer, which needs to be 36. Of course, you can also look at this as 108 divided by 3 gives me what? And the answer to that is also 36. So this step here in red is you showing how to break these surds down and simplify them to give us the following. And then the only thing that's left to do to get our final answer is add these. 4 root 3's plus 6 root 3's are going to give us 10 root 3's, which is our final answer for that. B, using your answer to part A, express that surd, which 10 root 3 is the answer to, in the form k root 6. In the form k root 6 basically means that this thing will equal k root 6, it's just that it looks different. So we're writing this in a different form, and we have to figure out what this value of k is going to end up being. So when you've got this in the form question, or at least one of the ways we can attempt these in the form types is writing what we start with as being equal to what we want it to be, and then taking it from there. So k is the thing that we're looking for, which means that this equation we've created, solve this equation to figure out what k is. In order to do that, I divide both sides by root 6 to get k on its own. And I've effectively created a rationalizing the denominator question. Of course, you type that in your calculator, you're going to get, actually if you type that in, you type that in the calculator, you're going to get the final answer. However, we need to make sure that we're showing all the steps for simplifying surds here. How you deal with a denominator with a surd on it, a single term like this with a root 6, you're going to multiply top and bottom by that root 6 in order to make that denominator be rational. That's going to turn into a 6 on the bottom of that fraction. The top here, if I do 10 root 3 times root 6, I'm going to end up with 10 root 18. And then from here, I try and simplify further. This 10 over 6, it will simplify, but before that, I want to deal with that root 18. So I want to simplify that root 18 by writing it as a root 9 times a root 2. I've still got that 10 at the beginning. I've still got that 6 in the bottom. We'll deal with that in a moment. That root 9 is then going to turn into a 3. So I'm going to end up with a 10 times 3 root 2 over the 6. That 10 times 3 is then going to become a 30 root 2 over 6. And one of the reasons why I held off here is because I knew for a fact that that 6 was going to cancel completely. So rather than have to cancel there, I can actually just do 30 divided by 6 now. And that's going to give me a final answer of 5 lots of root 2. So that is our value of k. Done.